Thanks. Oh, I'm going to take this off. How are you, my friend?
Good to see you.
Good. Let's do it. Oh, yeah. We got some time. Yeah, for sure. Yes. For the folks at home.
Is it ready to go? Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Welcome to the Writers' Conference.
Yeah!
My name is Grace Bentley. I'm a programming specialist here with Johnson County Library, and we're just very happy to have you here. So before we begin, and as we come together today, we acknowledge that this land has long been home to indigenous peoples who have stewarded it for generations. We recognize and honor the Kansas, Kaskaskia, Kickapoo, Osage, Peoria, Sioux, and Shawnee tribes, and acknowledge their continued presence, resilience, and cultural contributions. May we engage with this space and this place with awareness, respect, and a commitment to learning from the past as we create together in the present. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jim Cosgrove, multi-award-winning author, performer. As a Storytime presenter, his music is some of my favorite to use in Storytime. And as a reader of books, his true crime memoir was one of my favorite books of the year. If you know Jim Cosgrove's work, you know he is legit. He is fantastic, and we are so, so happy to have him here today.
Whoa. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you hang on to that. They've got me my chair. Thank you. Wow. That was amazing. I humbly hope I can live up to that. Thank you very much. And thank you for being here, and thank you for writing. Thank you for being stuck in your writing. That means that you have written and you've come to a stopping point, and that's a good thing. That's great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am known as Mr. Stinky Feet by many of young people. And it's okay with me. And the day we were married, my wife and I were introduced as Mr. and Mrs. Stinky Feet, and she was okay with that. So that's pretty awesome. I thought that was really cool on her part. And I have already misplaced my clicker. Oh, yeah. So I have written about 130-some, or published about 130-some songs that are floating out on, you can stream them on any streaming platform you know. And I have written a new book that came out in August called The Hiccup Pickups Happy Halloween, that is based loosely on one of my characters from one of my songs, the Pickup Hiccup. I have a book called Soul and Sally, which is about a girl who wakes up grumpy and swallows her smile for breakfast. She has a good friend that helps her out, so everything turns out cool. So don't worry, everything's fine. Bop Bop Dinosaur, which is actually the exact lyrics of the very first song I ever wrote for children. And I have a Christmas book called Hark, It's Harold the Angel. That's the story of Harold. I also have two books for grown-ups. One is a true crime memoir. I know, a little bit different than Mr. Stinky Feet stuff, okay? Not written for children. It started when I was a journalist in New Mexico. I used to write for the Albuquerque Journal. I went back to school while I was working at the paper. I went back to get my master's in creative nonfiction writing. And this started as my master's thesis. It was not published until 2022, so it was about a 27-year journey, 26-year journey to get that book finished and published. And it was a long, strange journey, a long, strange trip. I also have a book of a collection of essays that are a collection of my essays from my time as a parenting columnist for the Kansas City Star. I spent about 5 years as a parenting columnist. So these are some of my favorite columns. And they let me write about whatever I wanted to write about. I wrote about kids that I met on the road, traveling. I wrote about my own children. I wrote about my family of origin. So it kind of gave me free rein to do whatever I wanted to, which was kind of cool. All right. So I thought we would kick off with some inspiration from this dude right here, Albert Einstein. He had a lot to say about creativity. We think of him as a science guy, but man, if you want children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales. He was all about imagination, right? And about firing up your imagination and figuring out problems here and working with your heart and your head together, which I thought was very cool. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. And imagination encircles the world. It literally creates the world. Everything we see right here, right now, started in someone's imagination. This guitar was someone's idea in their head, and now it's a thing. Everything we see started in someone's imagination. And one of my favorite quotes from him, yet another, I have no special talent. I am only passionately curious. And as writers, and I happen to think, especially for writers for children, this is the place to be. We as artists will question our worthiness, whether our ideas are any good, whether we're any good. Stay passionately curious, and it doesn't matter. I mean, your talent, however you rate that, doesn't matter. Stay passionately curious. That's where the details are. And as writers, we are in conversation with our readers, right? We have a conversation, we're creating a conversation, and it's a great intimate relationship. And I consider it a great honor. Welcome. And we are, particularly with children, we're creating opportunities for children and their caregivers to create moments and to share moments, right? And in some cases, which is really cool to think about, we are creating opportunities for intimacy that last a lifetime. I love to think and truly imagine, as I'm writing, a caregiver, an adult caregiver sharing that with a child. And there's nothing more intimate when you're with a child and you're reading and you've got that connection and you're sharing something. It's such a cool, to be part of that is such a cool thing. So I consider it an awesome gift and an honor and really a kind of a responsibility in the loose sense of that word. And as you write, I hope that you're pouring your heart into it, truly. Lead with love and pour your heart into what you're writing and visualize. If you, like I just said, close your eyes and visualize children absorbing your book or your story or your song and sharing it with perhaps an adult caregiver. See it. And when you start to see it, as Einstein said, in your imagination, it will become real. You can create that, and it starts with your imagination. So we have come a long way in children's literature, in our Western culture, certainly. We've come a long way from, come down, Dick, come and see. See the big, big mother. See the funny little baby. Puff is my baby. Puff is my funny little baby. So, fascinating, Dick and Jane. The amount of coverage that these books had, or infiltration into the education system, is mind-boggling. They were in like 4 out of 5 schools in the United States. And I found out something interesting in just my research with this. They had a separate series for Catholic schools that called the Cathedral series that had more Catholic names in them. So it was with John and Jean, not Dick and Jane, which I thought was a fascinating little aside there. So we've come a long way. And then in 1957, The Cat in the Hat was published. And within 10 years of that, of the publishing of The Cat in the Hat, the Dick and Jane popularity really kind of faded out. So there was a quote from, let's see if I put it in here, from Dr. Seuss, Theodore Geisel. He said, I think one of the happiest things I've done is getting rid of Dick and Jane. So that's kind of cool, right? Okay, so what do we do before we write, to get ready to write? And I would propose to you that we think and act like a kid. Act like a kid. Think like a kid. How do we do that? Well, I'm going to help you with that right now. We're going to sing a song together. And this helps me get into the kid that and just helps me be more childlike. I happen to think that all of us are better when we are more childlike and less childish. Huh? Yes. We got plenty of that going around. So, the very first song I ever wrote for children was Bop Bop Dinosaur. It was a song I wrote for my nieces and nephews. I'm the youngest of 8 children. Most of my siblings had children before me. So I was the uncle with the guitar who sang songs. And I had no idea this would ever be a song and out. And I had no idea it would be published as a book. So I'm going to share this with you, and you have a part in this. The chorus, first of all, this is a story about a dinosaur, a toy dinosaur I had when I was 6 years old, a wind-up dinosaur. If you ever had a wind-up toy, right? They walk like this. And I had a little plastic grasshopper and a little plastic polar bear, and I used to keep them on top of my alarm clock next to my bed. And one night while I was asleep, they started to sing and dance in their underwear on my table next to my bed. I thought I was dreaming. The next day I went to tell my mom and dad about it, and they didn't believe me. So I wrote a song. I had to wait, right? Sometimes you gotta wait. So I waited and waited and waited, and finally wrote a song about it. Now they believe me, I think. So your part goes like this. Bop, bop, dinosaur, bop, bop, polar bear, bop, bop, grasshopper dancing in their underwear. Okay, so we can shout that. So we go bop, bop, dinosaur, bop, bop, polar bear, bop, bop, grasshopper dancing in their underwear. Oh, yes, and before I started, a friend of mine who taught 2nd grade said, yeah, sing about underwear and stinky feet and you're fine. So I based my entire career on that advice. Yeah, right. So Logan, do you remember this song from your childhood? Bop Bop Dinosaur? You might. I don't know. He's a long time. Okay, so that'll be your part. There's a wind-up dinosaur sitting on my clock, a green grasshopper that spits and hops, a white polar bear with his nose in the air. They make a lot of noise, but I don't care. Well, they love to hop and they love to bop. They bop all around on my tabletop. Sometimes they dance while I'm asleep. When I wake up, they're lying in a heap. All right, here's your part. We go bop, bop, dinosaur, bop, bop, polar bear, bop, bop, grasshopper dancing in there. Yes, they bop, bop up, they bop, bop down, they bop in circles and they bop all around. Yes, excellent. When I told my mom and I told my dad about the dancing animals that I had, they shook their heads and they said, don't lie, but I'm gonna prove I'm not a lying guy. So late that night, while they were sleeping, into their room I went creeping. I put those animals by their bed. Soon they were dancing just like I said. All right, here's your part. You ready? We go bop, bop, dinosaur, bop, bop, polar bear, bop, bop, grasshopper dancing in their underwear. Yes, they danced all night in my parents' room, dancing around just singing this tune. Okay, and then my parents wake up and they find the animals in their bed, in their bedroom, and then they finally believe me. And then we all finish with the chorus one more time. We go bop, bop, dinosaur, bop, bop, polar bear, bop, bop, grasshopper dancing in their underwear. Yes, they bop, bop up, they bop, bop down, they bop in circles and they bop all around. Woo. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I taught myself to play the guitar. I started writing before I knew anything about anything. Before I learned later about all the bad writing habits I had and all those things that we find out about, right? So it's kind of good to go into things with no knowledge, right? Ignorance is bliss when it comes to this. So I am going to reference, because there are a couple things I have learned about that book, or that song and book, since they came out, as it applies to writing. So think like a kid to get there. Ask your inner child what it wants before you write. I mean, what do you want to hear? What do you want to feel? What's the feeling you want to get out of what you're writing? which is a big part of it, right? How do I want to feel when this experience, going through this experience, and when this experience is finished? How do I want to feel? And ask your child how that is, and listen to your child, but also listen to other children. Watch other children, engage with them. Listen to how they play, what they talk about, what they think is funny, scary, sad, fascinating. They will give you so many ideas. And if you don't have access to children, you can do this in a non-creepy way, regularly, seriously, just engaging with children in public in a very slight way, at the grocery store. Kids sitting in the grocery cart, just make eye contact, hi, or smile, and it's, oh, hey, just to get that connection. If you don't have children immediately in your life, that just connect with them somehow, and you can do that. That's not intimidating, certainly. But I learned almost all the songs I wrote prior to having my own children were from my nieces and nephews, friends of mine's children. And then when I had my own children, it changed a bit because my relationship with children changed, right? So they are the great source for ideas. So in a longer session, I will do a writing exercise. We're not going to do this right here, but I am going to just explain to you kind of what we do. I ask people to start in order to go back to your own childhood, which may or may not be a safe place for you, may not be a happy place for you. I get that. But to write about a memory from early life, and if possible before you started school, and emphasize description, sensation, and in this case, with an emphasis on smell. And it's interesting, I just do a short, quick journal every morning and mostly every evening. And there's something I just started this week, kind of based on this. The other day, I was thinking about things I'm grateful for today, and I tend to do that at the end of the day, what I'm grateful for today. And I focused on smell, so all the good smells that I had throughout the day, and what they triggered in me. And last night, I did one on taste. What were the tastes of today, right? The meals I had, the snacks, the coffee, the tea, just to kind of spark that muscle in our brain that can crank out details. And when we write, the details are what make our writing great. Yeah? So this little exercise is something that I'm still doing on a regular basis. So, and always trust your intuition. And I'm going to repeat this. And I know sometimes we have our time trusting ourselves because we second guess but remember that truly when and I'm pointing to my gut because this is part of it, your gut is an information center, your heart, your head, and when they work in coherence together, great things can happen. If we're stuck in our head, we overthink stuff. If we're stuck in our heart, maybe we over-emote things, but man, when we connect all of that together, woo, beautiful things can happen. So, and so some more thoughts before you write. Kids, they want to be entertained, and I use that term loosely, meaning it's not all about just entertainment, but they want to laugh, right? They want to experience an emotion, right? So that is, I think, a form of entertainment. They want to be challenged too. I will talk later about language, but have you ever seen or been around a kid who has absorbed themselves in like a dinosaur book? And man, they can crank out practice. They can pronounce every dinosaur that I look at those words and I don't even, how do they even, and they know them all. They know all the dinosaurs. They can rattle them off. Fascinating, because they love that. They love to know, and they also love to know something that the adults don't know. They love to be in that position, right? And they want to be seen, right? Kids want to see themselves and feel themselves in their writing. And you look at the Dick and Jane series, man, it was all white kids from the suburbs. It was the entire series was that. And then as we slowly kind of opened our eyes and our minds. And I credit Sesame Street with a lot of this too. When Sesame Street came along, also a lot of literature that was urban-based and that had black and brown children and, and people of different faiths. And it was just, it just kind of opened us up to a lot of that. It was beautiful, really. So they want to be seen. They want to see themselves like, oh, that character even looks like me or it sounds like me. So we'll talk a little bit about relatable themes as well. And don't get hung up on the moral lessons. Sometimes they just appear when you are writing sincerely. A lesson will kind of present itself. Sometimes people will write with a lesson in mind, and that's fine. If you like, I don't really want to write a story about gratitude or tell the story about teaching kindness. That's great. It's fine to start from there. I try not to get hung up on that. When I started my career, teachers would often ask me, like, so what's your message? I'm like, have fun, dance, play. I mean, yeah?
That's the youngest children.
Yeah, exactly. That's the youngest child. You're right. That's the youngest child in me. She said, absolutely. Because, as I tell people, I was born on stage. When I was born, I had a built-in audience that were all looking at me, right? But yes, so but we want that's what we want to have fun. And if there are lessons built in there, fine. Teachers would say to me, I really need you to say something about bullying. I'm like, okay, can I talk about being kind and respectful instead? Do I have to use the word bullying in my presentation? Well, we're getting money from this grant, and it has to be bullying. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll slip in the word bully. But it's about being respectful and kind to each other. So a lot of that will come naturally. And read other books in the genre and your age range. And do this even cautiously as a musician. When I first got into the music scene, too, I didn't know there was a kids' music scene even. I was in my own little kind of just doing what I was doing, and whatever came naturally, I was trusting my intuition. And I didn't know of this other body of stuff going on. And as I started to listen to other music, it started to influence me, right? I found myself like, oh, I need to do this, or I need to write a song like that. And it was chipping away at my own natural, innate creativity. So it can be very helpful to get ideas from other authors and other genres. Realize, too, that when it may trigger something, or when you start trying to mimic other things. And so I have steered clear of absorbing a lot of that now. I realized what it was kind of doing to me. And what's interesting is I will even mimic myself later. I'll write a song and I'll play it for my wife. Like, oh man, I just wrote this song. And she's like, it sounds a lot like Bop Bop Dinosaur. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's right, a song I wrote 20 years ago. And yeah, you're right, it's the exact same tune. And, but that's why I thought it was great, because, so just cautiously, of course, or if you can do it with an open heart and an open mind, it's like, I just want to read and see what other people are doing. And I brought some examples of some other books I love, too, that I will share with you. Again, trust your intuition, trust your gut, your heart, your head. Tell me this, who is in the process right now of searching for an idea? Or are you always searching for an idea? Yeah, always. Anything in particular back here that you...
No, I have a little character I created a long, long time ago, and it's been in the, under the beds.
Ah, okay.
I'm here to see if it's going to come out.
Okay, great. Okay, so for the folks at home, and we're live streaming this, by the way, she has a character that she created a long time ago. And it is time for that character maybe to come out into the light. And that's exciting, actually. It is a great place to start with a character, yeah? And a lot of times, a lot of great literature starts with a character looking out over the sea. That's all I see is just this character looking out over the ocean. I don't know what's going on or where or why they're there. Then you create the story around that scene. So finding an idea. So if I were a kid, what would I want to read? What would I want to, what would I find funny or interesting? So where do we get ideas? We get them everywhere. First, one of the things is ask for inspiration. Actually ask for inspiration from others, from a divine source, if you're into that. Literally say, I could use some help here. Universe, send me some ideas, Just ask, and it's fascinating what shows up if you're open to that. Get outside into nature and actually connect with nature every single day. Touch the earth, literally touch the earth, and ideas pop in your head. Read other things. I've gone back to read things that I should have read in school and didn't. I've been kind of on a kick on that, going back and just reading literature that I skipped over, and that has been a good source for me for just plot and dialogue and that sort of thing. Take a nap is a great way to get ideas. Oh man, take a nap. Literally, napping is the greatest, I traveled a lot in Central America when I was younger, and one of the greatest institutions on the planet is the siesta. And most countries have done away with the siesta. But I thought, what a civil thing. Everybody just stops in the middle of the day and goes home to be with their family and have a meal, a big meal, and then they all rest a little bit in the heat of the day and then go back to work, and they'll work till 6 or 7 in the evening. But what a great habit, I think. Anyway, that's just me personally, loving that. Emote, feel the emotions. If you want to write about love, what does love look like to you? Experience love. Delve into the love in your life or the love that's missing in your life. I don't know. Also, emote. Don't be afraid of what some people consider the darker emotions. Sit with your anger. Sit with your sadness. And children do this. That's why I'm always focus on kids. Be as childlike as you possibly can. Kids emote all the time. When they're angry, when they're hungry, when they're frustrated, they throw a tantrum. It's okay. And because they get it out. And, 30 minutes later, they may forget they even had you're still upset about what happened, but they're not. They're done with it, right? What a beautiful thing, because they've emoted and gotten it out, moved on. But from that comes our connection with characters then. How can we create a character that is experiencing, as in Soul and Sally, grumpiness? Wakes up grumpy. What does it mean to be grumpy? Just nothing's going right. Well, we all have experienced that. When you wake up, I don't know why I'm grumpy, I just am. And to fully feel that. Connect with people from all generations. Connect with people who are older than you, younger than you, and seek those out through community. And that's kind of what we're doing here, too, connecting with people. Connecting with, I did a stint at Hallmark for a while. I was an editor and a writer at Hallmark for about 5 years. And they have a intergenerational buddy program where you connect with someone who is in a different generation than you. And you just meet and have coffee and chat. Well, this is a great place to network for that, to really just get ideas and see where people are coming from, opening up your heart and your mind, and daydream. If you're not taking a little nap, take a daydream nap and imagine, and be curious, and be curious, and be curious. Okay, how do we find relatable ideas, ideas that are relatable to other universal ideas? From these things, maybe we have our more, the lesson may bubble up through finding relatable ideas. So a universal theme, family relationships. There's a little book that my family loved. It was called Little P, and it's about a pea family. It's about a little pea and his pea family. And the little pea liked candy, and his parents Or no, Little P liked vegetables. That was it. His parents were. The parents wanted him to eat candy for dinner, and he didn't want to eat candy for dinner. And it's just about. It's about there are all kinds of books. Chrysanthemum is another one, and Kevin Henkes writes a lot of books about family relationships, and that's something that we all for better or not good and maybe not so good, we all have experiences with family relations, right? And they're all worthy and honorable. Accepting differences, well, lots of that's certainly a universal concept. And if any of these trigger like a known book or story for you, let me know. There are lots of books about accepting differences, stories about courage, overcoming something. There's a book called Big that was out last year that is about that. I'm going to mention that in a little bit too. Empathy and compassion. I think I happen to believe that the best thing we can teach without preaching, the best thing we can pass on to the next generation is empathy and compassion. That's the best way, the best lesson of all, because I happen to think everything is kind of based on that. Understanding, connection is based on empathy and compassion. And imagination, where the wild things are. It's just, it's a full-on just boo, psychedelic trip, really. And, but that's why it works, right? Because it's like, wow, I've always wanted to go. There was this book that I can't even remember. I think it's called The Pointy Dimension or something. We picked it up at the library. Our kids, we laughed about it because all of us, as we read it, were like, what is this? It was about a kid that falls into another dimension, and it was just really bizarre. But it created, nonetheless, we all thought it was just an odd book, but it created so much conversation, and we still talk about it 20 years later. Loss and grief is also a challenging one to write about, but an important one. And for those, if anybody here working on chapter books, middle grade, YA, anything in those? Yeah? Okay, great. That is a hope of mine to do that. So, do you mind sharing what your book or your story is about?
I'm writing about the Quantrill raid on Lawrence.
Ah.
And I have two teenage boys that are brothers.
Great.
And one wants to go join the army and the other one doesn't.
Okay. Excellent. So historical fiction.
Historical fiction.
Yes, that's great. For what age?
High middle school, little
Okay.
high school.
Okay. High middle school. Excellent. All right. Two brothers writing about Quantrill's raid. And yeah, fascinating. I love historical fiction. I'm a big fan of that. And that's a heavy subject. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of heavy things there. You're dealing with violence and war and engagement, and then familial relationships. Yeah, I will recommend a great interview with Kate DiCamillo, who wrote Because of Winn-Dixie, Tale of Despero, Flora and Ulysses. My sister sent me this podcast interview earlier this year, and she talks about writing about heavier subjects and how a lot of people may steer clear of that. It's challenging to do it well. It's challenging to do it, or do it at all, even. I don't even want to go there, maybe. But she talks about the importance of it and how when she goes to schools, how many kids come up to her, and she does a lot of author visits to schools. They'll come up and say, thank you for writing about a child who doesn't have a father, because I don't have a dad. And, thank you for it. And so it just reinforces that she's doing the right thing, because she's not sure if, is this too heavy? Is it too much? And the answer is no, it's not. And I have never ventured into that because it's something I've yet to get comfortable with. But thank I'm grateful for people who do. So if you're interested in this sort of thing, here's the QR code for the podcast. It's really well done. I recommend that. Okay, we're going to blitz through some things here. Okay, themes: green eggs and ham, which is about, well, somebody doesn't want to eat green eggs. So what is the universal theme there? Try something new. Exactly right. The value of an open mind, trying something new. That's right. Ferdinand, the bull, is about refusing to fight like the other bulls. Courage, following your own path, following your own path, absolutely. Being kind, yeah, you bet. All of those things. Charlotte's Web. I mean, in a nutshell, about a spider who saves a pig. I mean, there's a lot more to the story than that. But one of the things I pull out is the power of friendship. And yeah, that connection, certainly. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with the book Big. It came out last year. And this is one, it won the Caldecott Medal last year and the Coretta Scott King Award, and was a National Book Award finalist. And it is about a girl who is constantly told as she's growing up that she's too big. And at first it was, hey, I'm big, I'm a big kid. And then it was like, oh, I'm too big, and now I don't fit in. And it is, a lot of children will see themselves in this main character, in this protagonist, who at the end then says, I'm happy with who I am and what I look like and in the body that I am in. So self-love, acceptance, resilience, it's one of those books that really does take on the moral lesson head on and does it very well. So just a thought on that one. A lot of you wonder if your idea is right for kids. The short answer is yes. It is. Whatever you're working on, it is. Right? If you're feeling it and you have a need to tell that story, and why do you want to tell the story? I feel a need to tell the story. I think it's important. I want to get this out there. I think it's a theme or that needs to be told. And that's enough. That is enough to start with. Is it going to be relatable to children? Yes. Again, it will be, because you're going to make it relatable to children. Yes. My true crime memoir is not good for children because it's not meant for them. Get input from children. Try it out on kids. If you have a focus group to try a story out, I do songs like that too, and kids will tell you they're brutally honest. That stinks. Okay, all right, I will not do that again. Is it authentic and marketable? Start with authentic. And I hope, when you are in a place of love and your intention is love and compassion and whatever other emotion you want to put into it, you are writing authentically. You are coming out authentically. And that will serve you better than anything that's quote unquote marketable. Leave that out. The publisher will decide whether it's marketable. Believe in that story first and see it. There's some, as well as I do, you see a lot of books and think, how did this get published? Well, somebody thought it was marketable. Okay. So, and perhaps it's just not to my taste. Somebody else may like it. Who knows, right? So I wouldn't get hung up on that, but coming from a place of authenticity. And what do you like to read? Again, trust your intuition. Trust your intuition. Boy, I'm gonna have to blitz through some things because we only have till, oh yeah, woo, okay. Man, I didn't realize how much we had here. Okay, finding your voice. This is important, as important, I think, as the story itself. And voice can be, where do you see the book being written? When you close your eyes and you see a child maybe sharing this book with a caregiver, When is it? Is it bedtime? What's the voice of that? Is it morning? Wake up, perhaps. Is it around a campfire? Where is the scene? That can help you, I think, find your voice. There are points of view and voice. I don't know, we were big fans of the Little Mouse and the Big Hungry Bear. This puts the reader in the omniscient seat. This puts the reader actively engaging with the character. Hello, little mouse. What are you doing? So I am now interacting with the character. That's the point of view, but it's also the voice of it too. Oh, I see. Are you going to pick that red ripe strawberry? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, let's see what happens. Oh, but little mouse, haven't you heard about the Big Hungry Bear? So it kind of puts the reader in control. I love that, and I think that certainly kids love that as well. That point of view. Again, authenticity. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to blitz through a lot of this. Kids can smell a fake and tell you from somebody as a performer. Skibby, you are a performer as well. Oh yeah. They'll sniff you out in a heartbeat. So authenticity, being real and connecting. Kids will rat you out. I love kids because they're so honest. So just absolutely honest. And I love it. Absolutely love it. And this ties in actually with that whole bit. If you're trying too hard, and we all get in that point where we try too hard with something. You're trying to fit a plot line in. You're trying to make something work. Just walk away from it. Maybe forever, or just temporarily. But walk away. If you're trying to fit that square peg into a round hole, it means it's not working, and it's time to move on. A little bit more easier said than done sometimes. So, of course, try it out on kids. Give a wink to the adults if you can. Think of the kind of Pixar thing. If you can throw a little nod, wink to the adults, that's great. I've got a song called Ice Cream. It's a full-on rocking a song based kind of in the genre of Kiss, and Ace Frehley passed yesterday, God rest his soul, from Kiss. But I put a wink in there to Ozzy Osbourne. I put a wink in that song to Kiss as well. And parents get it. They're like, oh, yeah, nice. Whatever. It's satisfying for me somehow. Also, as you're writing, the power of 3 is very important. What is up with 3? It's a magic number. In fact, those of you who remember Schoolhouse Rock, they attributed a whole segment to 3 is a magic number. And why is 3 a magic number when we're writing? Well, we use it in plot, beginning, middle, end. They're often 3-act plays. What is the plot of every romantic comedy you've ever seen?
Boy meets girl.
Boy meets girl. They get together. They live happily ever after.
Well, after some kind, and usually the guy did something to mess it up, and then it's resolved. But yeah, that's exactly that. Characters. We've got 3 pigs, 3 bears, 3 musketeers, 3 spirits in A Christmas Carol. What else?
I think at first there's 3 Ghostbusters.
3 Ghostbusters. Yeah. 3 main characters in Harry Potter. Right? 3 protagonists. It's everywhere. It's in our sentence structures, in songs. Verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. 3 of each. We will put a bridge in there maybe to kind of shake things up the middle. You can set up a story, like a book like that as well. And the bridge being a little bit of a dissonance all of a sudden, like, oh, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. In the song, a bridge is often in a different key. It's in a different tempo sometimes. It's got a different feel, or at least it's using maybe different chords within the same key. But it's different. So you can write stories like that. So why is the power of 3 important to remember and write? Well, 3s are memorable. 3s are rhythmic. 3s are satisfying, too. It's complete. So I will often do sentences like that. I like, I'm blanking right now, but we have Pop Dinosaur is, I don't even know if that's in threes. That was so random. But anyway, I like threes. I like to write sentences that have a series of three. So, boy, we are almost out of time. So we got. I am just gonna throw this up here and. Oh, develop a character who's a couple years older than your readers. Please, yeah, and I think these are available somewhere. I think the slides are available somewhere. Yes, no, it's all right. Ramona the Pest. I had Ramona in here. Anyway, Ramona, age 8, is really kind of for about 5 to 6 year olds. A lot of those middle grade books have protagonists who are 12 or 13, and they're kind of for 9 to 10 year olds. Maybe a year or two old. Oh, Ramona, yeah, in the Goosebumps series. Yes, they're usually. Have fun with vocabulary, and I'm going to use write in short descriptive sentences. Of course, a lot of people say don't use too big words that are too big, but I go back to the dinosaur thing. I'm like, you know what? What's too big? A chrysanthemum. That's a big word. It's the title of the book. There may be an adult that sees that and think, I don't even know how to pronounce that or what that is, so I may not get this, but it's a lovely book, and it's written so delightfully. Then she's perfect, said her mother. Absolutely, said her father. And she was. She was absolutely perfect. Short sentences, but it throws a concept of like the word chrysanthemum out there.
I guess just.
Yeah, please. No, please.
But I was just thinking, like, too, how Dr. Seuss created these words of absurdity around "quote unquote" normal words, so that contextualized.
Yes.
What the absurdity was, so that kids would understand it in the context of the world.
Exactly. Brilliant. Which is what opened up a whole lot of vocabulary-wise, opened up a whole world for kids. Like, oh, I get it, even though I don't get that word. In Soul and Sally, my book, which is a board book, but it's for a little bit older. But she gulped, she guzzled, she gobbled it down. She goes to school, and she muddled and moseyed and mizzled and moped. And the word mizzle is really just kind of a word that I thought sounded good, and I found out it's like really like mist or rain, and so it's really not a word, but it fits in there somehow. She muddled and moseyed and mizzled and moped, because I just liked the way it sounded, and it was kind of silly and fun. So have some fun, and the repetition of words, phrases, plot devices. In my book, The Hiccup Happy Halloween, I have the character goes to a pumpkin festival or a fall festival and goes to the pig. Oink, oink, it's Truck and Pup. Pig squealed with joy. And you brought me more pumpkins. Thank you from my bottom of my little piggy heart. Then they go and visit the goat. Mama, it's Truck and Pup. And you brought me more apples. Thank you from the bottom of my little goat heart. And then they go to the horse. Thank you from the bottom of my little horsey heart. And I will just say, by the way, as a writer, there's way too much going on that page. That was the publisher's decision, not mine. Okay. Right? So you have some say in layout and design, but not a whole lot. It's ultimately up to them, right? So I look at that like, wow, that's way too much copy on that page. But they wanted it to be 32 pages, so they crammed stuff on the pages, and I thought, all right, okay, that's not my decision. But just as an aside, that kind of thing happens, right? All right. We're going to have to, be careful with rhyming. For instance, I tried to rhyme this entire book. This is a challenge for me. I found out when I worked at Hallmark that writing as a songwriter, I can get away with near rhymes. I can get away with shoehorning an extra syllable in. But when it's in writing, no, it's got to be right on those. That meter has to be exact. Because when you're reading it, it's different than when you're listening to it. So I have had a really hard time because I got a lot of bad habits as a songwriter, as a lyricist. Anyway, I'm sorry that we are out of time. Write a messy first draft, find a community to share ideas. We are a community, so we're here to share ideas. Any parting thoughts before we see through the eyes of your childlike heart? Okay, yes.
I'm super curious about you being an adult writer and a journalist and then writing children's books and like how do you compress and condense it and how many rewrites do you have to do?
Yes. So how many, going from writing for adults to writing for children and compressing that, yeah, it takes a lot of editing. The first draft of this Pickup book was awful. It was like, I couldn't, I had to really massage it. And it was a challenge for me because this was actually a request from the publisher. This is based on one of my songs and I wanted to do just the song. And he's like, well, how about we take the character and make it a Halloween book? I was like, okay. Yes, always say yes. And then, So it was a challenge for me. But again, what helps is thinking like a kid and acting like a kid. It really does help. Yeah, I mean, I know that's kind of simplistic, but it works. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on like the illustration aspect or how that integrates?
Yeah.
What are the principles of what kids like and how that's similar?
Yeah. Illustrations drive a story, right? Some books are just fully illustration, maybe a few words or no words at all, right? Absolutely important. Most of the time, the publisher will connect you with an illustrator, and you have no say. Fortunately, I was able to pick my 4 children's books. I was able to pick 3 of my illustrators. The only one that they chose the illustrator for the Christmas book, and fortunately, through that process, I was able to have some say in it. Now, when it came down to like that page layout, I was like, oh, sorry, it's 32 pages. Okay, can we make it a little longer? Nope, because of monetary constraints. So you will certainly have some communication with the illustrator at some point. Yeah.
I'm interested in your perspective on the process of inspiration. And is that coming from within or without? Because Einstein sort of saw his most brilliant concepts coming somewhere from without.
Okay, inspiration. Are you going to be here later?
Yes.
Okay, at noon, I'm going to be giving a presentation in the big hall in here, and I'm talking a lot about inspiration. Yeah, because I'm all about that. And yes, it comes from here and out, and you and me, and it comes from, yeah. And I prefer to be inspired versus motivated, and there's a difference, right? So I'll talk about that if you want. Yeah, come, because that's one of the points I make. Yeah, you bet. Skip.
So, long story short, I have a book written and ready to go with all illustrations ready to go, but I don't know if I did too much to now approach a publisher to potentially make that really turn into a book.
Okay, so you have a book written and illustrated, and is that too much? Maybe. If you are shopping agents, to ask the agent, and some will like that. Some will, the publisher I'm working with has been okay. This book was designed, not only written and illustrated, but also physically designed by 15 years ago, and it sat. And then we took it to a publisher and said, this is what we envision. And the publisher was like, great, let's do it. Done, let's do it. So it just depends on how, but an agent will help you decide that. And if you're concerned, lead with the story first. And then say, oh, you're interested? Oh, I also happen to have some illustrations.
The illustrator also made a pitch deck for agents, so we're...
And the illustrator can make a pitch. Yes, absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you. All the best. I'm sorry, this is so exciting to chat about ideas, and I had so many other things to share with you, but here we are. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to the folks watching at home. We appreciate that. Thank you, Logan and Sergey, for the sound and getting the video together. And I will see you, some of you, at noon, I hope. And we're going to talk about, thank you. Thank you, thank you. We're going to talk about being enough. We're going to talk about our enoughness. And part of that is inspiration. A big part of that is inspiration. Yeah. Thank you all. Cheers. Have a great day. Yeah. We went way over it.
You're good, man. It's all right.
I hope.
Sure, great speaker.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Title of that mouse.
Oh. Which? Oh, this